Our last topic today, as we sit here and tape this show, the Metro Council is discussing the urban growth boundary and voting on agreements with the 3 Portland area counties to designate which land will be developed and which will remain rural for the next 40 to 50 years. Should Metro be picking the winners and the losers, and will these property owners have any recourse if they want to but can't develop their land? Al, this is one of your favorite topics, so you get to start.
The property owners will have no recourse. I mean, if you're outside the urban growth boundary, it's pretty much decided that you can't develop. I like to look at it as winners and losers. The losers are people that have a small plot of land that's farmable, let's say 5-10-acre parcels. Their only recourse, if they don't get inside the urban growth boundary, is to rent that property to a working farmer. And the reason they have to do that is if they don't farm it, they lose their farm deferral. Right. And so those people are losers. The cities are losers. In my area, Cornelius really needs more industrial land. And they're a nice community. They say it's the poorest one in the area, but it's a very nice community. But they need some areas that they can do light industry in the volume that would make a real effect on their school district. They're mostly in the Forest Grove district. Some of it's in the Hillsborough. The winners are the anti-growth people. There are a lot of people that are going to make a good living or live comfortably, even if there's not another job added to the metropolitan area. And so they can drive their Prius if the gas pedal doesn't stick, and just be real pleased with themselves. And the other winners are people that already have property within the urban growth boundary. Every time they tighten the screw, your property values go up.
Right.
I'm waiting for that. Let me know when that
Well, it went up 0.5% in the last year. What do you want?
Part of the problem I see is that Oregonians look south, and they see Los Angeles and San Mateo and all those places where sprawl took over what was gorgeous land that should have been reserved for the public. And so I think that fear of what's happening in California tends to drive some of the people who may have been moderates or independents in the middle to think that, I just don't, I can move to Oregon, or I'm in Oregon because I don't want to be living in California and deal with those issues. But I worked at Metro in the mid-90s, and they were doing the 2025 planning for just this operation. Where should the urban growth boundary be? How big should it be? Who wants to be in it? How much should we set aside for rural, just a rural setting, and keep Portland? They thought it was going to keep the metropolitan area from going haywire, kind of like Seattle is. Seattle is another good example of unlimited growth, destroying some wonderful areas that they should have belonged to the people.
With bad geography.
With bad geography.
It's like, let's put one of the largest cities in the United States on an island.
Right.
I mean, right. Well, of course, New York works, but it's tough to get around. And essentially, even within Metro, you've got Multnomah County's priorities are different than Clackamas County's priorities, which are different than Washington County's priorities. Multnomah County is thinking, we're going to build up. They can build on brownfields. People want to live there. They've got South Waterfront. They've got the Pearl District. Nobody cares. Clackamas County has a kind of laissez-faire attitude about it. It's like, they're actually doing a pretty good job of managing their farm land versus their residential area. Washington County has got this huge demand. Intel, all these big companies, they want, Nike, I mean, they practically had a civil war over this in Beaverton about how much land they wanted, and annexation and taxation, and there's a lot of competing interests, and the developers want, to keep building, and people who have existing homes want those values to keep going up, and it's an extremely complicated and frustrating situation.
For the mini farmer, which is the 10 acres or 15 acres and below, property out there, it really gives them an opportunity to look at other options other than just, having some chickens running around and a horse in the back pasture and all that kind of stuff to keep it. the wine industry in Oregon still is growing. And I know there's a piece of property on Cooper Mountain that has south facing. It would be perfect to rent it out to a winery to put grape in, and then you get revenue. You also get a whole bunch of wine because they'll give you a few hundred cases of wine, a few cases of wine, not a few hundred, a few cases of wine.
Dream on.
I think just again, one of the things that I'm concerned about with if we keep expanding the UGB, with all due respect, and I mean you're a very great, likable person, you are, and
however,
but no, I'm concerned that if you just keep building and building and building, eventually you lose the essential Oregon character. And Richard, I lived on Cooper Mountain 25 years ago, and I moved out there, and it was a completely different experience.
Yes.
It really was. And now it's completely paved over. There's just development after development after development. And one of my favorite phrases that I've seen is slum-urbia, which is that you have so many of these wasteland little suburban developments that, like in Las Vegas, the economy goes down, and there they are, and nobody's living in them, and there's foreclosures, and it's bad, and you wreck Oregon.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I just wanted to say, I mean, the one thing is that we've talked a lot in the last few weeks about government getting involved and control and these kind of things. I just don't see a problem if you own land, what you want to do with it. Like, if you want to build on it, then you should be able to do whatever you want with it. And I just want to know why it has to be planning for 40 and 50 years, why it doesn't have to be planning for 10 years and know what's going to happen in 10, who knows what's going to happen in 10 years. So why not wait 10 years and then reassess what's going to happen in 10 years after
Partly
that?
because I was there, what they realized is that if they don't do a longer term assessment of what's going to happen, they're going to get caught with their pants down, because what we found out in actuality is more people were moving in to the metro area than they had even planned on. And had they not given a longer view, they wouldn't have been able to catch up. Right. So they have to have that.
Yeah, and see, these were just setting the reserves aside, and it'd be foolish to say, well, you make an industrial reserve, it's going to go industrial at some point. But it did give certainty to
I'll let you finish your point. We need to stop. We are out of time.